Hi, this is Gurgaon Singh, and you're listening to my Thick Accent podcast. So, I moved to Canada in 2018 to study at LaSalle College in Montreal, Quebec. I did this amazing program called Media Strategies and Advertising. And in the class of 29, I was the only Indian. And as per the first day traditions, we were introducing ourselves. And when my turn came, I spoke a paragraph about myself for good 2 to 3 minutes. I'm from India. I have this experience. I'm looking forward to learn this, and etc. etc. And after I finished, everybody's face was blank, as if I felt like I have said something wrong. So 3 months later, a fellow classmate told me, Guru, we did not understand anything that day apart from the words India and Guru, which I shortened from Guru Sees. To which I replied, the feelings were mutual. Neither did I understand you guys. So this shows that it does take a little time to get accustomed to each other's accents. In fact, it's not limited to accents. There is a whole vocabulary update needed that is understood by the natives. And my guest today is here to talk about her experience of vocabulary revisions that helped her start her career in Canada. She was working with the Ministry of Textiles in India and moved to Canada 4 years ago and has now transitioned into building a career in IT sales. Let's hear more from her about her journey from entering the Canadian border to finding the correct pronunciation of water. Please welcome Rashmi Aggarwal.
Hi, Guru. So nice to be here at your podcast. Hi, everyone.
Thank you so much for being on the podcast. So, Rashmi, do you still say water or water?
I am still learning. We all are, learning for always, right? Water. I think everything works as long as you say water.
I also like when I'm alone, I practice it saying it water. But whenever I am ordering it at the restaurant anywhere, I end up saying water. That's what comes naturally to me.
Yeah, I believe there is no perfect English in Canada. That's what I realized. Eventually, everything is fine
Yeah,
as long as you can say it fine.
100%. Okay, so Rashmi, before we discuss more about pronunciations and much more, I wanted to tell us about your life in India. You are from Noida. You were born there. Tell us, how was it like growing up there?
Well, Noida is a city very close to Delhi. Delhi is capital of India. It's just like we have Toronto GTA area. So Noida is part
Hmm.
of Delhi NCR area. So Noida is very cosmopolitan. I had friends from southern part of India, northern part, eastern. So it was a very mixed uh, group of class. Um that was a great exposure from my perspective because not from a global perspective but as a country I got to study and grow with friends from different cultures, different languages, different religions, and yeah, it was a big city feeling. They were all corporates. We had first malls sprawling up in the city. So yes, a first McDonald's in our city. So there were perks of living in a big city.
So I remember you mentioned that you were working, like I mentioned in the intro as well, that you were working with the Ministry of Textiles before you moved. So tell us more about that job. How did you get into that industry, and how a regular day on the job looked like?
So Gur, very interesting. I grew up in Noida, right? So there was a huge building we
Hmm.
used to come across as a kid. That used to look very fancy to me.
Hmm.
I never knew like I will end up working there. Uh, as from education perspective, I ended up choosing textile engineering. And after finishing that degree, I was like, hey, this office is actually from Ministry of Textiles, and I don't want to work anywhere
Hmm.
now. This is my goal. This is where I want to work, and I would do whatever it takes to work here. um, it's a long process to get selected, uh, because it's a government institution. um, the first time I applied, I got it rejected. Like my resume did not get shortlisted. uh, but when I applied for the second time, I did actually got selected for an interview, like based on my resume. And most of the times I'm able to clear interviews when I get shortlisted. So I ended up working there at my dream place. And my role was so good. I was so happy there because I got the opportunity to work and learn with one of the brightest minds in our country. There were IAS officers. There were I got the opportunity to visit Parliament House, which is just like White House in India, and we had those special permissions, those fancy entrance cards to go and visit delegates. And my role was to promote the products of artisans, the local artisans, which were not so educated, but they made
Mhm.
very unique handmade products. Uh, Basically, I was trying to promote their products through this institution. Um,
Mhm.
so yes, I worked there for 3 years, and end of the day, I became such a confident person that I could sit and have a communication with anyone, any VIP person as well.
Hmm.
So yes, huge learning.
I remember you mentioned in your LinkedIn bio that gone are the days when sales was all about selling the comb to the bald. What did you mean by that?
So when I was a kid, we used to do a lot of train journeys, and there used to be people running in the uh,
Mhm.
alley where they are selling peanuts, small toys, combs, and all of this stuff. And it is just like fooling the other person and selling them something which they don't really need. So it's like selling comb to a bald person, right? But today you can't do that. You can't fool others. The customer are so well
Hmm.
educated. They are aware of the market. What are my options? So today's world, what I would do is, rather than try selling a comb to a bald person, I might refer them a hair transplant. I might offer them some gel,
Hmm.
or maybe a wig.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so that's how things have really changed with the course of time, and our customers are smarter than sellers.
It's no more about just selling what you have. It's about creating a product that can solve the problem that the customer have, right?
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. Understand their pain points, their needs, and offer something that they actually could use.
So you Rashmi moved with your partner and son with the permanent residency, and I remember you saying that the weather was one of the factors that influenced the decision to move. Tell us more about
Right.
that.
Well, as much as I love my country and the place where I grew up, I cannot ignore the fact that we are facing with pollution. Like, the air pollution is a huge problem out there.
Mhm.
The government is trying to control it, but there are a lot of factors due to which the air quality is not really good. Most likely, my son was got very affected by those factors, and he frequently started falling sick.
Mhm.
We didn't really think about it seriously, like to just move from the country,
Mhm.
right? But
Mhm.
my husband has a very, very close friend in Canada, in
Mhm.
Ontario, who pushed him, like, why don't you think about it? My husband has a degree which was very much valid in Canada. We didn't have to study anything. We were
Mhm.
both well educated to get enough points, and all these factors together, uh,
Mhm.
we casually just applied for PR. It's like, okay, let's
Mhm.
think. We know there is something, but let's think. Let's apply. We didn't think it will come so soon. Within 3 months, we got our PR. And
Oh wow.
we were like, now what? We have it in hand. What do we do now? And
Hmm.
then my husband was like, okay, let's do one thing. Let me go first. Let me see how
Mhm.
it is there. So we stayed back. He came here for 3 4 months. He was here, and he liked the place. Career wise, he found good opportunities. And then finally we decided, okay, let's move to Canada. And Trust me, there are no regrets. Like, I'm a happy
Hmm.
person here. Yeah, it's good.
Okay, so you're saying that your husband came here first, and then how much time later did you guys go? You and your son moved later.
So my husband moved in February, and me and my son, we came here in July. Because still at that time we were not sure if we want to settle here or not. So he was like, let me see, let me experience how things are
Hmm.
firsthand, and if I like it, then we will make the decision to move as a family. Otherwise, he would just come back. uh,
Okay, okay. So you came in July 2018. So how,
yes.
how was your first day? What was going on in your mind, or what expectations did you have?
Honestly, we were so excited to meet as a family together. That was on top
Of
of my
course.
mind. That was a long flight with a young kid. So to be able to reach, with four huge suitcases and a small kid, felt like a big victory, honestly.
I know.
And yeah, I still remember it was summers, but weather was perfect, and it was afternoon when we landed. Uh, Toronto area looked good, big buildings. Although I don't get very excited because I've seen all of this in India as well. Like, India is a growing country. We
Hmm.
have huge malls, all those high rise buildings. Uh,
Hmm.
but yes, the vibe was different. That breath of fresh air when you land and come out of the airport is very, very different. So yeah, very, very excited.
So was there any particular expectations that you have from the country? Anything that you had in your mind?
Um, I'm a kind of person where, I just came here with a fresh mind. I didn't have a huge to do list when I landed, to be honest.
Hmm.
Um, Now that we made the decision to move, I wasn't looking back, only
Hmm.
looking forward and like a new chapter of my life. And I was just ready to, start it. Not a huge to do list on day one, I would say. Just came with an open mind. Yeah.
Apart from getting your SIN number and figuring out your license, which also takes forever, right?
I know. Trust me, just to learn to board the bus and, tap the card and press those
Yeah.
buttons. I have done all foolish things, which probably all of us do when we land here.
Yes, yes, definitely. Yeah. It took me also a
Yeah,
while to really get familiar with all the metro routes and everything, and on top of that, just an additional factor was everything being in French. Like I mentioned, I'm in Montreal, so it did take me a while as well. Yeah.
right.
Okay.
Yeah,
So, Rashmi, you did multiple jobs before you got into Zendesk, where you are working currently in the business development. And the very first job you said you did was at Peloton, selling those exercise equipments, and then many other jobs you did. And you mentioned that those jobs helped you build your confidence before you tap into the full time roles. Tell us all about that experience and how those jobs helped you build your confidence.
sure. I would love to. Honestly, like, when I landed here, I can only talk about myself. I have a master's degree, right, and an engineering degree. So when I landed, I never thought that finding a job would be difficult. I was like, I felt, thought all good things about me. Hey, my education is top notch. I have, a great working experience. Who wouldn't want me to, want to hire me? And but you get to see the
Mhm.
reality soon. It doesn't take
Yeah.
long time, and then you start questioning. You're like, what's wrong with me? These kids who are just passed out from school, or they're still in school, they are in managerial roles. What's the problem with me
Mhm.
here? uh, and then if you sit at home and just keep applying for jobs, it's easy to say stay positive, but you start self doubting
Yeah.
eventually. Like, the confidence goes down. So what I decided was get out of the house. I don't want to stay, at home and apply and go for interviews. Um, So I got this part-time job at Peloton because it gave me the opportunity to interact with people. Um, and and that helped me so much because Peloton was a high-end bike. So I was speaking with VPs,
Mhm.
directors, senior managers of corporates, and entrepreneurs, and it gave me so much confidence. And those simple words like water and a water, it just went away, because I was trying to do all the right things I thought were right. Maybe I was not saying, pronouncing those words right, so I wasn't get selected. But that's not the reason. That's what I
Mhm.
realized. It is okay to have an
Yeah,
accent. Everybody has it in
100%.
Canada. But one learning was talk slow. If you have an accent, don't rush, just like you shared,
Yeah.
right? Talking about my own self, and end of the day, the other person is like, hey, what did you just say?
Yeah.
So so when I was sharing something about the bike, I automatically started slowing down. And I realized other person is able to understand what
Yeah.
I'm saying. I don't have to copy their accent because it's going to be a fake
Yeah.
accent, not my, right? So simple things, and it gave me so much confidence that I got a full-time job, 9 to 5 within 3
Hmm.
months, right? So, and that's the change that happened within me. Those were not related to my education or my prior work
Yeah.
experience. These are just basic soft
Mhm.
skills, and then attitude that changes. Those self doubt and all of those feelings just go away. Um, and then, yeah, I think that was so good. Everybody should come out of their house and find anything, so you get the opportunity to talk to so many people. I remember one of the person offered me a job right there in the store. It's like, would you like to work
Oh,
with
okay.
me, work for my company? Yeah. So that really boosts your confidence, right? And it helped me, frankly. And then there was no looking back. Once you get that Canadian experience, it's just a stepping stone, one after the other.
Yeah, 100%. Like, you have to get comfortable with your own accents. It doesn't really matter how you're saying it. It's basically the context of the things that matter. And, like you said, one should really come out of the shell and just put yourself out there, interact with people. And I think that's what sort of happened with me. Like, during my college, it was like a 1 year program, and it was like a 5 days a week college, and I hardly get any time to work anywhere. And when I graduated, and then I finally got into like a very first job, which was like a call center job. And literally there, I actually understood the differences in pronunciations, like with the R's, like the very regular words like work. We say work, or we say birth. We don't say work. We don't say birth. It's the
Mm-hmm.
rolling of R's that
Mm-hmm.
came across as like, okay, so that's what kind of acting as a hindrance in making other people understand what I'm trying to say. Rolling the R's is like so essential. Talking to those people on the phone,
Right.
and I'm saying something else, and they're like, I'm so sorry, I'm not really getting anything. Everybody was not that sweet. Nobody was saying sorry at all. Everybody was pretty rude on the phone. But yeah, I think that was a really big learning to me, that gave me like another perspective to things, that I really have to work on, or something that I really have to accept, that this is how I talk now. It's fine.
Right.
So so you, just like every newcomer, you also try to network with people via LinkedIn. You did your informational interviews, you connected with people, and you also always, Rashmi, talk about the shift in mindset, where it's not about only women appreciating or supporting women. It's also even men encouraging and appreciating women in tech. And in no way I'm saying that women are not self-sufficient, but you were talking in an appreciative way. Can you just tell more about that?
Sure. So when I was in between jobs, I was also trying to figure out what I really want, because my prior experience didn't have many opportunities here, right? And my inclination was more towards getting into IT, because I had prior sales experience. I was very comfortable in my skin, but how to get that IT knowledge? And My siblings are in IT; they are engineers. I I think I just experimented so much in every way to find what it takes to get there, right? So I spoke with them. They spoke more about coding. I was like, I don't think so. I want to study more and learn coding, Java, C++. So, uh, and then I leverage LinkedIn a lot, maybe connect with more people who are already in IT industry, and and book coffee chats with them, like a virtual coffee chat, just to find a mentor in life, who can guide me how to get into it. And then I noticed that there were so many women in tech organizations on LinkedIn. Trust me, I joined every single one of them I could find close to me, attended a couple of webinars which were very empowering. But I could not really connect one on one with any of the women. No, although I perceived my mentor as a woman. And then uh, eventually at my workplace, and via friends of friends, I met a couple of men who were in IT. And that's where I clicked, and we spoke once a month. And whatever we were communicating together, things made sense to me. And that's where I opened my mind. I was like, why was I restricting myself to, finding women in IT? And today, when I go back and see, in every way, there have been men who have guided me, supported me when I was confused. I didn't know where I want to go in IT and how to do it, right? That's the hardest thing. They can be five different things within IT which I could do, but which is the right thing for me, because those are difficult decisions. And
Yeah.
I really thank all of them. Like, they are in senior roles, in with very good companies, but they do find time to help others, people like me, and get on calls. Uh, and I remember taking my frustration out with them. What am I doing? I want to reach here. How to do it? You guide me. What does it take? And someone suggested books, some podcasts, some trainings, and everything has helped me to reach where I am today. Yeah. So cheers to men too.
100%. I think it's not only specific to gender. I'm sure there are like tons of people on LinkedIn, especially a platform like LinkedIn, where people are just ready to help. And literally, trust me, everybody is, I think, ready to help. It's all about reaching out to them and just asking for help. And I think sometimes people just hesitate asking for help when they need it. So, yeah.
So I want to point out here that a lot of times initially, I was asking for a job instead of guidance. you know when I'm not really probably prepared for that job. So when we are reaching out to people on LinkedIn, it is always a good idea to understand what does it take to get that, to reach your goal, because that helps more than somebody referring us for a job.
And also, I want to mention, if any of our listeners want to connect with Rashmi, if they want to know more about tech sales or have any questions about the industry, please feel free to reach out to her. The contact details can be found in the show notes.
Yeah, I'm happy to connect.
So, Rashmi, before I moved to Canada, I worked with Ogilvy in Gurgaon. And one of the clients I had was Adani.
Mhm.
So in India, everybody knows, what Adani is. So subsequently, when I was talking in my interviews about the whole experience, I would use the word Adani. And me being naive, I would just use the word Adani, right? But then I understood that I have to find a replacement, like the Canadian equivalent, or something that can better help me convey the value of the job I was doing. So then I started saying that, hey, I worked with an Indian multinational conglomerate. And then that would lead to some follow up questions. And you also had this similar experience where you revised few words on your resume as well. Tell us more about that.
Yeah, it was so funny. First time I landed, and everybody asked you, "Hey, what you used to do in India?" And I was like, I proudly
Mhm.
said, "Hey, I work with Ministry of Textiles. I was part of handicraft and handloom." They were like, "What? What is that?" And that was the first reality check I got, where whatever I was telling very proudly, nobody could understand what does it even mean.
Mhm.
And sometimes during my interviews, I ended up explaining about what handicraft and handloom is, which was completely irrelevant, and you
Mhm.
know uh, uh, it just took the whole interview in different direction, right? uh, so eventually, after some time, I met one of the Canadian colleague, and I sat down with her and I was like, "You have to help me out. You would know more, right?" So that's where I scripted the whole thing, how to explain it in
Mhm.
2 lines. First,
Mm.
there's nothing like handloom here. They'd say textiles, and then I found some local companies to name so they understand what I'm
Yeah.
talking about, probably IKEA or Home Sense, and I say, you see, their home furnishing,
Hmm.
which they could understand instantly. So those things
Yeah.
really happen, help a lot in making a connection when you move to a new country. Um, so now I was like, worked with a government company, where I was promoting products made by local artisans, which were mainly handmade. That's it.
Yeah, so that's like the updating the vocabulary on your resume
Yes.
to make it easy for the natives and the hiring managers
Right.
to understand.
Imagine if I am in person and talking about it, and the other person is struggling to understand. How is it possible that they can understand on my resume when I'm not even there to explain?
Hmm.
So that really helped a lot to cut down on all the
Mhm.
things, all the Indian vocabulary, and put in some new words. To all the immigrants here, not even Indians, right? Um, Once my manager was telling me, like, "Rashmi, hats off to all of you guys. If somebody would ask me to go to India, learn your first language, which is Hindi, and then sell something, that would be a nightmare for me. Like, hats off to you guys, you know, coming here, settling here, though we speak English, it's not our first language, and then, selling something. So that's how much we are appreciated as immigrants.
Along with that, there are several other tiny things that are like cultural understanding we have, and we do not have the cultural understanding, and we do that. For example, you sharing that you wore those cotton socks and heels for your
I
for
know.
like in a -20-degree interview. What was that?
Again, when I was finding some part-time jobs, just to be out of the house and get some exposure, um, there was a interview, quite a bit far. I remember it was so cold, close to Christmas. I was like 20
Mhm.
-25 or something, and it took me 2 hours to reach that place. I changed 3 buses, and how
Mhm.
we dress up in India when we go for interview is we wear those trousers and blazer, dress formally, and heels, right?
Yeah.
And that's the stuff I got from India, prepared for interviews. When I went, the bus journey was fine, and I took my those huge snow boots with in a bag with me, thinking that okay, I will wear them later because they look ugly with that kind of attire, right? And
Mhm. Mhm.
It was crazy. I literally froze to death that day, and my whole body was shivering while I was waiting for the other bus on the bus stand because I was wearing those cotton socks because the woolen socks won't
Mhm.
fit in my heels. And I was wearing that cotton trouser, which was totally not made for that Canadian weather. And it was such a big lesson for me. Because how we dress up here is very different. It is more casual. You
Yeah.
have to be fully dressed for the weather. uh, it doesn't
Mhm.
matter. It doesn't have to be trousers. So uh, definitely, that's why it is so important to get out and see and understand how things work here. These are very simple things, but now I when I look back, I feel so foolish. Like, it sounds like such a simple thing, but what I was I doing in heels and trousers in freezing weather?
So now, Rashmi, we are getting into the final segment of the podcast. I used to call it the segment, the final MTA talk, but from this episode onwards, it will be called Beneath the Accent. So I'm going to ask you a couple of questions. You can answer them in one word or a sentence. The idea is just to know more about you.
Okay.
Okay. So, our first question is, what is the best piece of advice someone ever gave you?
Be yourself. Be authentic.
And yeah, worst advice someone ever gave you?
Cut down my experience and look as much as like a fresher with respect to work experience.
Okay, can you elaborate more on that with an example if you have?
I had almost 8 years of experience, work experience in India, and
Hmm.
to get a job here, I was suggested to show not more than 4 years.
Why do you think people suggest such kind of things?
It's easier. They think it's easier to get a job when we show less experience,
Hmm.
because of the kind of roles we are applying, and
Hmm.
one might think we are overqualified for the roles, but
Mm,
in reality, experience is experience. You have earned it. You have
yeah.
worked hard for it, and if we are confident enough, I think we should definitely shout out that I have this many years of experience.
Yeah, experience is experience. And
Right,
I think any sort of experience just benefits in the next job you do.
right,
So one
right.
should never shy away from sharing that. Yeah.
Never.
So is there something, Rashmi, you recently bought and now you regret?
Bought as in like any materialistic thing or anything? Anything.
Anything that you bought? Yeah.
I recently purchased a training program, which I was really looking forward to finish, but I haven't yet started. So I'm not sure if it's too early to regret, but yeah.
Okay.
I
What kind of training?
those learning programs where you want to
Oh,
get
okay.
better in career and you want to do them as a side thing, uh,
Hmm.
just to stand out. But there's already so much going on that
Going
I
on.
didn't get
Yeah.
a chance to start it.
Okay. Can you name three things from your bucket list?
I want to travel. That's number one. Explore
Hmm.
different cultures. I want to go on that Caribbean vacation where every Canadian goes and they talk about it.
Aha. Yeah.
So explore more. Second, I would love to learn ice skating, especially in winters. I don't know
Oh,
anything
interesting.
to do how to enjoy winters in Canada. So I think
Hmm.
knowing one sport is good, whether it's skating
Hmm.
or skiing, anything. So right now I can only do tobogganing and make a snowman. So I would definitely want to get better at it.
Okay.
Yes. And third thing is I want to take my kids to Disneyland next year.
Hmm.
So yeah.
So, what's one of the most fun childhood memories you have, if you can think of?
Going to my grandparents' house and spending time with my
Hmm.
cousins together, talking
Yeah.
nonstop till late night, cooking noodles. When you get
Yeah.
hungry, I think those were the,
Those Maggie.
yeah, Maggie. So
Yeah.
I think I really love it. Most cherishable memories. Life was so good. Yeah.
Wow, it just took me back to like my time also. It used to be the best time of the year. Like, we would have those summer vacations, almost like good 45 days off from your school, and you just pack your bags and go to your, maternal side of the house. We call it nanke. Let's
Nani,
just
yes.
call it nanke.
Yeah.
Nani house, nanke. We call it that.
Yes.
Yeah, they used to be so much
And
fun.
get
I
so
agree.
pampered, not
Oh
nobody says
yeah.
no to anything. So
Yeah, 100%. I'm sure I'm sure that I must be coming back with at least like 1 to 2 kgs extra when I would come back from that place. Yeah.
yes, yes.
Okay. So next is, if you could have one superpower, what would it be?
Spread as much happiness I could, because every other person I speak to is going through a lot in their lives.
Hmm.
Um a little bit of happiness and a smile on everybody's face is, if I have that power, I would love to do it. Yeah.
Hmm. I think despite the superpower one is blessed with or not, I think this is something that you have mentioned, Rashmi. I think everyone should really, instill in them, just spreading happiness, and just when you are crossing somebody on the street, just smile. You never know what the other person is
Right.
going. I mean, the least you can do is just be nice.
Right.
That's literally you can do. Yeah.
Right.
Okay. So, what's your favorite movie to watch over and over again?
There's a Shah Rukh Khan movie, Kuch Kuch Hota Hai. Once in a while,
Yeah.
I do watch it. I think it's never outdated. It's so much fun. And there are
Yeah.
so many more movies, but that's the first movie that came to my mind. And I just
Mm-hmm,
love it. And
mm-hmm.
I'm a big Bollywood freak. I even in
Okay.
Canada, I suggest so many Bollywood movies to my fellow Canadians, and
Mm-hmm.
and they do watch too. So,
Okay.
so yeah.
Is there any particular movie that you suggested to your colleagues and then they came back to you with the review?
Yes. So I had one of the Iranian colleague, and
Mm-hmm.
he happens to watch a lot of Bollywood movies, but more like Salman Khan movies, and then
Okay.
just like Ready, Wanted, and then they're like,
Yeah.
"Hey, your movies are like this." I'm like, "No, not all of them.
Yeah.
Bollywood movies are all about dancing."
I know people have like a generic view of Bollywood. I also had like roommates, who were from Nigeria and all parts of the world, and they would say, "Oh, your people dance like this and dance like
Yeah.
that," and I'm like, "Come on, nobody do that anymore.
Yeah.
Things have changed. There are more sensible and more, I don't know, like subject oriented movies are being made. Things have changed." And then I recommend then some of those movies, and then they watch those.
Yeah.
But yeah. So, Rashmi, what is the most important quality you think you have that will take you where you want to go?
Determination. No matter how many setbacks I come across, one step at a time, one day at a time, I continue working towards it until I reach
Hmm.
my goal, because it's never a smooth journey. There
Yep.
are gonna be roadblocks and bumps, but if we don't give up, I think that's the key to success.
100%. Love that. So, finally, describe Canada in one word or a sentence.
Beautiful, beautiful, accepting, loving. I love this country.
Okay, so on that note, just spreading the love all around, Rashmi, thank you so much for being on the podcast and adding value to my listeners.
Thank you for having me here, and feel free to connect with me, anyone, any of the listeners. I would try my best to support you in any way.
Perfect. Thank you. Hey, listener, thank you for making it to the end. I highly, highly appreciate you listening the podcast. Subscribe to the podcast if you haven't as yet, and please share with your friends or anybody you think would like it. And like I always say, we encourage you to follow your heart, but also us on Instagram. The handle is My Thick Accent. You can also leave us a review or write to us at hello@mythickaccent.com. So stay tuned and let's continue knowing each other beneath the accent.